The voters elected him, and tax money pays his salary. But it turns out this public official works only a few days a week and uses a county-owned car for personal errands. The Channel 4i team has determined those really are the work habits of one of the highest paid elected officials in Nashville. Here's our chief investigative reporter, Jeremy Finley.
Well, Demetria, Davidson County Criminal Court Clerk David Torrence had no hesitation sitting down to talk to us about his work habits, even after we told him that we had video of him showing him not at the office when you pay him to be there. You see, David Torrence sees nothing wrong with what you're about to see. You're about to get a glimpse into the sweet life of David Torrence. He's the Davidson County Criminal Court Clerk. You pay Torrence $125,000 a year. It's Wednesday, April 6th. While his employees at the clerk's office were busy working, the Channel 4i team found him at home, picking up sticks, spraying his yard for bugs. At around 2 o'clock, he walks out in shorts and a ball cap and gets the mail. This isn't a personal day, it's not a holiday, it's not a sick day. It's just a typical Wednesday in the working world of David Torrence. How about Fridays? Well, besides that $125,000 salary, you also pay for his Metro car and gas. On Friday, April 8th, he never went to the office. He spent part of the day using that county car to run errands. From his home, he drove to the bank, then to the liquor store. He got back in the car and headed home. He didn't take his personal Corvette, by the way, just the car you pay for.
Every taxpayer in Davidson County should be offended by this. Every Metro employee should be offended by this work pattern.
So what is that work pattern? The Channel 4i team spent months finding out just how often the clerk works. He doesn't keep timesheets, but security swipes at the only city garage where he parks show that last year, Torrence wasn't there on 95 regular work days, not including weekends, not including 5 weeks of vacation. Remember, he's the criminal court clerk. His only duties lie in the office, keeping court records in order. The garage card swipes show he wasn't in the office for roughly half of 2010. You only worked about 50% of the time last year. Only 50% of the time you were in this office. How do you explain that?
Well, it is what it is.
You see, Torrence admits he takes Wednesdays and Fridays off every single week.
I'm working Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays.
But I don't think that's acceptable to a lot of taxpayers. I don't think they're going to sit there and say, Mr. Torrence, it's okay for you to take off half of the year when we pay you this salary, and this is this important of a job.
Well, Jeremy, if it's, you're telling me that's what the garage shows?
The number of times you swiped when you came to work.
Well, all right.
Torrence says sometimes he follows the car in front of him into the garage and doesn't have to swipe, so there's no record of him coming to work. You're going behind someone every time.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, it happens sometimes.
But overall, Torrence did not deny what we found.
I got a ticket.
He justifies his schedule by noting the clerk's office is efficient, innovative, and well run. Well, I have to ask, if the job gets done, why pay someone like you that big of a salary to work 3 days a week?
That's what the job pays.
And if you think working just 3 days a week is incredible, you haven't heard anything yet. Some work weeks he didn't work just 3 days. He worked 2 days during full work weeks. In fact, we found 18 work weeks where Torrence only worked 2 days. And if that's not enough, we totaled it up. Torrence took 52 3-day weekends over 2 years, not counting vacations. You know how many Metro employees would kill to have 2 3-day weekends? In that time period, you had 52. That seems like a lot. Does it seem like a lot to you? You're shaking your head as indicating no.
You know, like I said, it is what it is.
And it turns out Torrence isn't just running errands and working in the yard during the work week.
Occasionally we'll play golf.
On the days that the taxpayers pay you to be here to be doing this job, you openly admit you're golfing, you're working in the yard. You don't have a problem with that.
Like I said, I'm in the office Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and that's the days I'm here.
And as for using that county car for running errands,
I go to the bank and I go and pick my wife and I up a couple bottles of wine and come home.
But do you think that's what that car is supposed to be used
Oh,
for?
yeah. Well, you know, I don't think that there's anything wrong at all to do that.
but it turns out there is something wrong. According to Metro guidelines, the city says you can't transport alcoholic beverages of any kind in a Metro vehicle. But here's what he says he can and will keep doing.
Do you plan on working more? Do you plan on being in the office more after this?
There's nothing that I regret, and I'm going to keep the same schedule Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays just like I have.
Do you think you would have been reelected if people had known then what we've just brought to you, that you'd only been in the office half of that entire year?
I've now been elected to my 5th term, so I must be doing something right.
Torrence points out that he is on call all of the time, and I asked him how often he'd been called into work since he's been the clerk, and he said never.
Consider this scenario. A top elected official in Nashville hires both of his children for city jobs that were never even advertised. It's the latest revelation from our Channel 4 I-Team investigation into Davidson County Criminal Court Clerk David Torrence. Now, last night you saw our hidden camera video that caught Torrence away from the office several days a week, doing yard work, golfing, running personal errands with a city-owned car. Our chief investigative reporter Jeremy Finley has the newest findings.
Our Channel 4 I-Team investigation found not only did this clerk hire his own sons and not advertise the jobs, he hired them to replace veteran employees and brought them in at those veterans' salaries. You could say Joe and Josh Torrence just entered the family business. But it's not a private business, it's a business run with your tax dollars. Within the past 9 months, both have been hired to work in the criminal court clerk's office. And who hired them? Their dad, David Torrence.
Did you advertise those positions?
No, I don't do that.
How'd your sons know about it?
Well, they knew about it. Because I told them about it.
So wait a minute. Torrence had 2 government job openings in his own office, didn't advertise them, and just gave them to his sons?
Do you think there is anything questionable about a person in your position hiring his own sons for jobs that taxpayers pay for?
No.
So about now you may be thinking the way taxpayer advocate Ben Cunningham is thinking.
Taxpayers hear about stories like this, but you think surely stuff like this doesn't go on. It does go on.
You may also be wondering, can Torrence do this? The answer is yes. Because Torrence is an elected official, none of his employees in the clerk's office are bound by guidelines for civil service employees. You must advertise job openings for civil service employees and not show any favoritism. But not in Torrence's office. Torrence can hire anyone he wants, even his own sons. The city's legal department says there is no nepotism policy that applies to Torrence's department.
Whether or not it breaks some nepotism policy is really beyond the point here. The fact is, he's thumbing his nose at Metro taxpayers and saying, I'm going to do whatever I damn well please.
And there's more. You see, Torrence's sons got their jobs because 2 veteran Metro employees retired. Those veterans each earned their salaries after getting raises from the city over the course of 25 years on the job. And according to their personnel files, Torrence's sons came in at the veteran salaries, despite being new to the department.
I think that there are going to be people that would say those are veteran employees that had earned those salaries, and your sons just walked right on in. You got to see how that looks a little questionable. You don't see that as questionable at all?
No.
In fact, Joe Torrence got a nearly $15,000 raise to switch from another Metro government job to his dad's office at a salary of more than $46,000. And Josh Torrence got an $18,000 raise to move from his old Metro job to his dad's to take the new job at more than $55,000. Jobs, again, that their dad gave to them without screening any other candidates.
And what'd you say? Guys, I think I've got some good gigs for you here, because they got pretty significant raises from their other jobs to come to this one.
I'm glad to have them both working for me.
Torrence says he hired his sons because they were qualified. Josh works as Torrance's IT administrator, and in fact, he has done IT work for Metro before. And Joe, who now works the front desk, worked for 10 years in Metro's warrant division. Qualified candidates, perhaps, but there were never any other candidates.
In your opinion, we're not going to advertise this for anybody else. The very best employees were your two kids.
Well, they're exceptional. They're exceptional.
Is this good old boy politics? Classic good old boy politics? You hire your sons?
No, it's not. It's not good old boy politics. It really isn't. I'm in my last term in office, and I'm glad to have my sons around me.
We wanted to speak to Josh and Joe Torrence for this story, but their dad told us he didn't want them to talk to us.
The Metro Council made a rare move tonight, telling the elected criminal court clerk resign or we'll try to oust you from office. The vote was unanimous, and the clerk, David Torrence, who was unapologetic about working only 3 days a week, now says he's sorry.
Well, Demetria, in a surprise move, David Torrence himself showed up here at the Metro Council meeting tonight. And after our now infamous interview, he agreed to answer my questions about whether or not he will resign.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
With that, the council made history, asking an elected official to resign.
This is one of the most unpleasant moments in 20-plus years of serving this government.
Before the vote, the Channel 4i team caught up with that official, David Torrence. Mr. Torrence, and even though it was clear he wasn't happy to see us, do you care if we ask you a couple questions?
What?
David Torrence did say why he made a surprise appearance at the council meeting.
Then I would just humbly and respectfully ask them that they forgive me for my past actions.
Well, Demetria, some pretty startling revelations from David Torrence just a few moments ago. Of course, the Channel 4i team first exposed him skipping out on work nearly half of last year. Then he admitted to us that he only works 3 days a week. And then he said to us that he didn't really have a problem with any of that. That's why people protested today, and that's why David Torrence said what you're about to hear.
David Torrence has to go.
Armed with signs reading, "Where is our money?" a small but vocal group of protesters first chanted outside Torrance's offices in the Birch building.
We want David Torrence out of office.
Then moved inside, going right up to the clerk's counter, carrying a resignation letter for Torrence to sign.
Taxpayers have had enough.
The criminal court clerk's office is under a new microscope tonight. Formal investigation by the district attorney.
The DA today promised to review years' worth of time cards and mileage records to determine just how long David Torrence may have been working part-time in a full-time elected job.
Well, District Attorney Tory Johnson says his investigation into David Torrence is a priority, right up there with all his criminal investigations. While he says it doesn't appear Torrence has done anything criminal, he says what the Channel 4i team exposed raises questions that deserve answers. What began as a Channel 4i team investigation.
On the days that the taxpayers pay you to be here to be doing this job, you openly admit you're golfing, you're working in the yard. You don't have a problem with that.
Like I said, I'm in the office Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and that's the days I'm here.
Has now laid the groundwork for an investigation by the district attorney's office.
We intend to supplement what was done by Channel 4.
At a morning news conference, Tory Johnson announced his team of lawyers will begin reviewing what Channel 4 viewers have already seen.
What began as a Channel 4i team investigation will end in the resignation of one of the highest paid elected officials in Nashville.
Tonight, the I-Team has confirmed criminal court clerk David Torrence plans to quit. We begin with Chief Investigative Reporter Jeremy Finley. It was his investigation, of course, that sparked criminal court clerk David Torrance's early retirement today. He quit.
He quit. He's done today. He said, "I'm the most upset about how disappointed my late father would be in me." Of course, his late father was the criminal court clerk as well.